Hey, welcome back to the Inner Circle. It's your hosts, Clayton and AJ, as always. Today we're going to be talking about American Psycho, one of my favorite films of all time.
The greatest commentary on rich people in New York City I've ever seen.
And also, I think you told me it was the greatest dark comedy that was ever made?
Yes, my favorite dark comedy, American Psycho.
And then I did you one better. I think, what did I equate it to? It was like a psychological thriller?
Yeah, you said it's kind of psychological thriller, which, I mean, that applies, because that's the whole story, is how crazy is Patrick Bateman? Or is he crazy, or is it the world and culture he's participating in that's really insane?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that are implied in this movie that are very interesting, but we're going to talk about that later on. What I want to start us off with, though, is I want to go down like a little, like as I usually do with movies that I have a very personal connection with. Mm-hmm. I saw this when I was it was my freshman year of high school when I saw it for the first time. And I just immediately fell in love with it because it was like a really harsh portrayal of not just like Wall Street sort of society, but the inner workings of a psychopath.
Yeah.
It was like so mind-blowing to me how well they were able to connect those two things together. I immediately like shared it with all my friends, and they didn't like it as much as I did, but I remember the Halloween of that year, we did like a school costume contest, and I went as Patrick Bateman. Like I had a full-on like suit and trench coat with the red tie, slick back hair.
Wait, so you didn't go with raincoat over the suit with the blonde face and the crazy hair?
I did do that. I had a clear poncho that I wore over it, and I carried with me a briefcase, and there were only two things in that briefcase. It was the Huey Lewis and the News album and the Phil Collins album from the movie.
Oh, I was hoping for a butcher knife.
No, I couldn't do that. It was school. But yeah, no, American Psycho, fantastic movie. I've always loved it. I still love it today.
I don't know how to follow up that personal story. I just really like this movie because it's a crazy man who murders people, and he's around other rich people who are so self-indulgent where they don't notice that a literal serial killer who sucks at hiding he's a serial killer is like right in front of them.
Well, that's part of the commentary of it. Is like the high society of Wall Street is so like involved. Like every single person is so involved in their own world and so like self-centered that they don't even realize that one of their coworkers is a straight-up psychopath who murders people every night. And the reason that he gets away with it is because nobody cares. They're just only interested in making money.
Yeah.
And doing coke in bathrooms. Didn't you read the book?
I've read most of American Psycho. I didn't finish it, but I got close enough.
Okay.
Because a friend of mine, his name's Jason, he has read the entirety of American Psycho.
Oh, of course he has.
Yes. So that was, that he read it, I read it. I already saw the movie before I read the book. The commentary is way more obvious just by the nature of it being written. It just goes into stupid, ludicrous detail about every single suit, every single everything, every event they go to, every restaurant they eat at. And also, the other half of the movie, the novel goes into ludicrous, grotesque detail of every murder and kill he does. The murder, after watching several scenes of just like rich people be really vain, and then just smash cuts like he stabs a homeless man and curb stomps a dog. Just the transition between the two of them.
It also smash cuts.
Really catches people off guard.
It smash cuts to a lot of gratuitous sex scenes too, and like if you're squeamish about this sort of thing, this maybe isn't the movie for you. It gets pretty bare bones, if you know what I mean, at certain points. But that's part of what the story is trying to tell. And this is what we kind of talked about this with our Rambo reviews. Like, in those movies, the violence always has a purpose. In this movie, like, every vile thing that these people do serves a purpose. Because it's a satire of that lifestyle, and it only serves to portray Patrick Bateman as the most deranged person that he is. This is, like, sort of the perfect movie to put on during Halloween, but it's also not really a horror film.
I don't Well, okay, so it's listed online as horror mystery. I disagree with that branding for this movie.
I kind of disagree with that.
This is a satirical dark comedy. The fact that there's grotesque murdering and very obvious sex is that's I think that's part of the comedy.
Yeah, it's definitely it's edited together in a way with all those smash cuts to like gratuity. It's definitely played for comedy.
Yeah.
It's trying to get like a laugh out of you because it's dark.
It's so absurd.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's absurd. Like, and you were talking about how the book goes into like every little detail about Patrick Bateman's life.
Yeah.
Like Christian Bale, does such a good performance. Like he narrates his own performance in this film.
I live in the American Gardens building on West 81st Street, on the 11th floor. My name is Patrick Bateman. I'm 27 years old.
He narrates himself just like how he's written in the book, to my knowledge. He goes into every little detail about his routine, his lifestyle, what he's thinking.
The thread count of his sheets, which he says when he's at the cleaners.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that scene's pretty intense.
It goes like every like stupid vain, only absurd rich people detail.
Mm-hmm. And if you're one of those people that likes to say things like "eat the rich," you're either going to love or hate this movie.
If someone who genuinely believes in the phrase "eat the rich" hates this movie, they're not paying attention.
Honestly, because like this movie is not meant to be taken seriously in that way. You're supposed to. It's a critique.
This is the Eat the Rich movie. But as an adaptation, the reason it works so well is because I'm not even going to try and hide it. I have info pulled up here so I can keep myself on track this time. The director of the movie, Mary Herron, she also helps write the screenplay. So she directs and helps write the adaptation, which services the movie and probably all the lead actors' performances really fucking spectacularly. Because there's not a second of, like, dead air in this movie where you're like, that could have been cut or that could have been trimmed. Like, everything is so snappy and on the button. It's just like, there it is. Like,
and this movie has a stacked cast. Like, Christian Bale, this is definitely Christian Bale's movie. But at the same time, his co-stars, like, people like Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
The guy from Ang Lee's Hulk, I can't remember his name.
Which role?
He was the bad guy in Ang Lee's Hulk.
I don't remember Ang Lee's Hulk.
Yeah, it's whatever. He's in it. He's really good. Reese Witherspoon's in it. She's fantastic.
Paul Allen is in the movie.
Yeah, Jared Leto himself as Paul Allen.
You have a dog? A little chow or something?
Patrick Bateman's musical taste is kind of on point.
No.
You don't like...
Patrick Bateman has some of the worst musical taste ever. Who gives a fuck about Huey Lewis in the News?
I like Huey Lewis in the News. I like Phil Collins, and I also like Whitney Houston, who he gets made fun of by his friends in this movie for liking. That kind of hurt me a little bit watching that again. But
that's not the point.
That is not the point.
That's not the point.
No, his musical taste is like directly in line with what you would expect from somebody in his position. Like, he's putting on, throughout this entire movie, a facade because the character does not have, like, human emotion. He has human needs, but he doesn't really feel for anyone other than himself.
Yeah, no. He doesn't feel anything.
And the whole, like, him loving these like, this genre of music and talking about, like, how deep it is as an art form and expression of the artist, that is all a part of his facade.
Yeah, I was about to say that's more of his craziness than anything else. It's like a man who is hollow inside and doesn't feel anything happens to be a part of the world of rich businessmen doing business, which that's all that you don't know what they do. Everybody's vice presidents. They all have the same business card. They all go to the same restaurants. Like, that's the worst environment for someone like that to be in.
But what they do specifically doesn't matter because you know that they're just raking in loads and loads of money. And it's just going straight to their head. Like, there are so many scenes throughout this movie of just Patrick Bateman going to ridiculously fancy restaurants and doing coke in the bathroom.
Half of the movie is them sitting in a fancy restaurant or a scene of someone trying to get a dinner reservation, which is hilarious. Like that's the stupidest shit.
Let's talk about like the portrayal of women in this film, because I feel like we do need to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think it's problematic because of what the story they're trying to tell. Like Patrick Bateman is not a good person. He's not a likable person.
They're
Like,
showing this lifestyle through the eyes of Patrick Bateman and through the eyes of any of them guys. All it is I have this beautiful woman. I'm engaged / dating her, and all it is like it's a showpiece for your lifestyle.
Right.
It doesn't really matter because like everyone's seeing someone, but they're fucking someone else,
right.
and no one actually cares about it.
There's no monogamy in this film.
But no, what I'm saying is like no one cares. It's all vain appearance. It's just like
right.
Yeah, look at this arm candy I have. Ha ha ha.
And like this movie gets a lot of crap for portraying a lot of violence towards women specifically, but that's also just a part of the character. The movie's called American Psycho.
Who gives it crap for that?
Well, he's like,
if someone gives this movie crap for that, once again they didn't watch it.
Part of the psychosis of Patrick Bateman is his violence towards women. We
Yeah.
don't know why, but it doesn't really matter. But like they portray it in a way to where it's like in Rambo, everything they portray is centered in a really real world, and there's a lot of violence towards women in that world.
Funny you say that. Let me mark off on my points here. How real is the world where from the opening scene of them stopping by that first party, and Patrick Bateman will just kind of snap and say things to certain people, but it's always it's the only cuts in the movie that are a little bit jarring in between scenes.
$25.
You're a fucking ugly bitch. I want to stab you to death and then play around with your blood.
Did he actually say that, or did he just have a moment? But it never addresses it.
Yeah.
And I feel like people blow that up. They take the little moments like that, and they blow that up into too big of a deal and start to misinterpret the movie when they're like, oh, well, then none of it was real. Like,
yeah, like
I don't think it goes that far.
The movie in no way glorifies violence. It in no way glorifies like violence towards women. It is literally a portrayal of the dregs of humanity. And it is a very smart portrayal of those dregs because it's very centered on how awful their lifestyles are.
But how real do you think the psychosis is?
Well, there's a lot of theories out there, especially towards the ending of the film. It's like, did he kill those people or did he make it all up in his head?
That's what I was just talking about.
Right. And, well, say what you think. Because you told me, like, because we watched Fight Club before we watched American Psycho. And I thought that he invented the persona of Patrick Bateman because he is Paul Allen, and he needed like to become a psychopath in order to give his life meaning.
I think that's too deep. I think Patrick Bateman is exactly who he says he is. He is Patrick Bateman. He lives on the blah blah floor of the garden building, whatever the fuck. He is himself, and these murders he commits are real, and just none of it. It all gets swept under the rug, not from any force looking out for him, but just by the general non-caringness of anyone in the world he lives in. It's like all these murders are real, and the reason he's so crazy is because while he is a crazy serial killer, he lives in a world where like none of it matters and none of it is seen because everybody's too focused on their own stupid rich person shit about like what shirt they're wearing tomorrow.
Yeah.
To the point of like he snaps and he doesn't even know if his world is real anymore.
Right.
The crazy man ends up appearing as the more sane person as opposed to the normal people who are like actually insane for living life the way they do and focusing or not focusing on the things they do.
It's kind of beautiful, that like delicious irony.
Yeah,
because
I think that's what the movie is. I don't think it's any of the like, oh, is Paul Allen alive? Was it all in Bateman's head? I don't think that's the avenue
It's a nice
that it's supposed to be
theory,
focused on.
but it's definitely, when you consider the fact that it's a commentary and a satire of yuppie culture,
Yes.
I think that's the theory that people should subscribe to. Yeah.
That's how I interpret it.
Um,
Because as I wrote my notes here from like the start of the movie, and I'll quote it, all of these fuckers are the exact same. The same personality, same haircuts, same interests, same fucking credit cards. So, I mean, it wouldn't be that on the nose if that wasn't what was happening.
and like, Bateman kind of has a full arc in this movie. Like, he starts off as like a straight up secret serial killer,
Yeah.
doing his little plotting, and by the end of the movie, he just can't control himself anymore, and he just goes on a spree, and it gets to a point where he desperately wants people to know that he is a psychopath.
He's desperately trying to be like seen and captured for it. And his arc, he has a full arc, and then at the very end of the movie, he realizes even after going on a literal killing spree, it just all disappears and goes away.
He starts to get like super paranoid about being caught, and then he just keeps doing this manic stuff
Because he wants to get caught.
because at the end of the day he realizes that he wants to get caught. And like, he has like these really weird habits. There's a lot of scenes with like prostitutes and random girls that he brings in and murders, and he's like another great way to show that this man's off the rails, because he's absolutely self-obsessed. When it doesn't matter if he's like in the throes of passion with any given woman, he's just flexing and pointing at himself in the mirror, and he's like, God, I look good. And it's just, it's so American Psycho.
Yes.
I can't really I can't gush about this movie anymore. You might think that I myself am a psychopath for liking it, but that's fine. You can think that. I am totally mentally sound. You can challenge me on this if you want.
I just don't know why you would try and make it a challenge. It's a genuinely great film with some good commentary on that culture, and I mean, it's fucking masterfully shot. Great script. I mean,
Great pacing, great editing.
yeah, like it's another fucking knock it out of the park classic that people need to watch.
As soon as the credits rolled, I looked over at Clayton and I went, yeah, this is a perfect movie. I think it's a perfect movie. Absolutely.
So would that be a 10 for you? Like a straight 10?
Well, I was going to ask you what your final thoughts were before I went into mine.
Oh no, those were my final thoughts. Like it's a
Okay. Well, yeah, I've kind of said my piece about it. I will give American Psycho absolutely 100% 10 out of 10.
It's another one of those where I'm more focused on the story than I am the technical filmmaking. And it's because the technical filmmaking, I don't have a single issue anywhere in it.
There's no issues to be found.
It's edited greatly. It's shot beautifully. I mean, it's all there in the story and the writing. And for me, that's what I look for in most movies. Even ones if I don't have too much to say on them, that's usually the kind of stuff I'm still thinking about. American Psycho for me is probably a 9. It's not a perfect 10. I don't know if I've ever given a perfect 10 on here. I might have maybe once, but it's not a perfect 10. It's a 9.
Well, what's stopping you from giving it a perfect 10?
There's like a special button in my head something needs to hit for it to become a perfect 10, and it doesn't hit that button.
It gets close though.
Yeah, it's almost there, but it doesn't hit that button to be a perfect 10.
Well, it goes without saying that we both highly, highly recommend American Psycho.
Don't worry, we're gonna watch things we hate soon. I have plans.
Oh, those are coming.
I have plans.
But we'll catch you next time on the next Inner Circle.
Space Jam!
Oh God, please no.